Well, hello to all you hookers out there. It is time for another Right Hook Results show. And this time it is the 250-word King of Spades tournament where we will be crowning two winners, one in the gold bracket and one in the championship bracket. And the winner of the championship bracket will be crowned the world champion of 250 words. We've already crowned our other three champions in 1,000, 500, and 100, so this will be the final of our four champions. And for this one, we are starting over in the gold bracket. And in the gold bracket, we have one quarter-final match. And all the other stories have gotten a bye into the semi-finals. The stories getting a bye into the semi-finals are Where Rainbows End, The Sky Used to Be Blue, and Making Arrangements. So that leaves us with one quarter-final match that has to go through the quarterfinals. So we have the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning taking on the boy with the sling. And this one had three judges. The first judge scored it for the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning. The second judge scored it for the boy with the sling. And the third and final judge scored it for the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning, which advances on to the semifinals to take on Where Rainbows End. Heading on now to the championship bracket, where all but one story must take part in the quarterfinals. The one story getting a bye into the semifinals in the championship bracket is The Stranger. But everyone else must go through the quarterfinals. And for full disclosure, we were short one judge in the first round of this, so I sourced a volunteer judge for one of the matches, but they were only used for a first round match because we guarantee a minimum of two judges judging every contest. So, starting over in the championship quarterfinals, we have Hooked versus Send Help, and this one had two judges. And both judges scored it for Hooked. Hooked advances onto the semifinals to take on The Stranger. The next match in the quarterfinals was Undertow versus Riptide, which also had two judges. And both judges scored this for Riptide, which advances on to the semifinals. Then, for the final quarterfinal match, we had Lured versus Big Problems and Bigger Problems, and this one had two judges. And the first judge scored it for Lured, and the second judge scored it for Big Problems and Bigger Problems, giving us a voting tie of 1 vote to 1. So when we have a voting tie, we add up the cumulative judge scores and see which one comes out on top. And I can tell you with a score of 65 to 58, the combined judge scored it for Big Problems and Bigger Problems, which advances on to the semifinals to take on Riptide in the championship bracket. Back over now to the gold bracket, where we are in the semifinals. And the first semifinal match is the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning versus Where Rainbows End. And this one had four judges. The first judge scored it for the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning. And then judges 2, 3, and 4 all scored it for Where Rainbows End. So Where Rainbows End advances on to the final with 3 votes to 1. The other semi-final match saw The Sky Used to Be Blue versus Making Arrangements. And this one also had 4 judges. And all 4 judges scored it for The Sky Used to Be Blue, which advances on to the finals in the gold bracket. Back over now to the championship bracket where we are in the semi-finals. And the first semi-final match is The Stranger versus Hooked, and this one had 3 judges. And all 3 judges scored it for Hooked. Hooked advances on to the finals of the championship bracket. And in the other semi-final match, we had Riptide versus Big Problems and Bigger Problems, and this one had 2 judges. And both judges scored it for Big Problems and Bigger Problems, which advances on to the final of the championship bracket to face Hooked. Back over now to the gold bracket, where we are in the finals. And the final is Where Rainbows End versus The Sky Used to Be Blue. And this one had 7 judges. The first judge scored it for Where Rainbows End. The second judge scored it for The Sky Used to Be Blue. The third judge scored it for Where Rainbows End. The fourth judge scored it for The Sky Used to Be Blue. The fifth judge scored it for The Sky Used to Be Blue. The sixth judge scored it for Where Rainbows End. And the seventh judge scored it for The Sky Used to Be Blue. Meaning that with a voting score of 4 votes to 3, the winner of the gold bracket and taking home the prize is The Sky Used to Be Blue by Doris Macaroni. Congratulations to you. You have won the €200 prize. And commiserations to the author of Where Rainbows End. You'll be consolated with a free entry to a future contest. Back over now to the championship final, where we have 5 judges to vote on the final. So the final is Hooked versus Big Problems and Bigger Problems. And the first judge scored it a tie, 39 to 39, a tie in every category. They could not be separated on the first judge's vote. So a tie for the first vote. The second judge scored it for Hooked. The third judge scored it for Hooked. The fourth judge scored it for Big Problems and Bigger Problems. And the fifth judge scored it for Hooked, meaning that the winner of the championship bracket and the champion of the 250-word division is Hooked by Mike Range, winning with a score of 3 votes to 1 and 1 vote tied. Mike Range now has set a number of records. This is his 3rd contest win, which is the first person to make it to 3 contest wins. He is also now the first double champion, having also become the champion of the 100-word division, proving that he is the master of the short word count divisions with 250 and 100 under his belt. Congratulations to Mike Range, and the prize money is now yours. And the author of Big Problems and Bigger Problems will be compensated with a free entry to a future contest. And that concludes the results for the King of Spades 250-word contest. And yes, so the next contest will be the Ace of Hearts contest, which I believe is on June 12th. That is a 1,000-word contest. And that will be taking place, June 12th, and that will be the last contest for the foreseeable future. So I'd recommend that if you have any discount codes or free entries, that you use them for that contest. And that is what we have coming up. So congratulations to all of our winners, and we'll see you next time. Take care.